Okay, we're live. Well, Dr. Chu, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Oh, you are so welcome.
Well, we're live. We're live on LinkedIn, and we're going to record this and distribute it on a podcast. And so, if anyone's listening live right now, and while we're talking, they want to chat with Dr. Chu, or they have a question, this is a great opportunity for that. And we can respond to questions and comments live. And if you just want to say hi, we would love that too. We love saying hi. So that's the beauty of live. But Dr. Chu, thank you so much for joining me. And I like to always start these conversations with, and this may be a long answer based on your many interests, but what can you tell us what you do and why you do it in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, can this
Yeah.
be a very large nutshell?
A large
Yes,
nutshell,
a
yes.
large nutshell. Well, professionally, it's a 30 years worth of a nutshell. I started being an optometrist out in the LA County area 30 years ago. I set up my own practice, serving in an immigrant community right outside of downtown LA. And I've gone through a lot of ups and downs in terms of my personal life.
Mm,
And at the end of the day, it's like what I just realized maybe about 2.5 years ago, that what kept me, I'm going to put in air quotes, alive and kicking, were my patients.
mm,
And I never really connected the dots until 2.5 years ago. And
mm,
so, I know that probably later you might be asking, like, what's my journey like these last few months? And this is all part of the story of
mhm,
just this realization of how much my patient base has given back to me.
mm.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's my nutshell.
Okay, wow. Well, that was pretty concise. We have a comment. Someone, I don't know who it is, unfortunately, it says hi from Austin, Texas. So whoever it is that said that, hello. Thank you for
Hello.
saying hi. We love people saying hi. Um, and so yeah, so you alluded to a journey here. You alluded to a journey that you've been on here for these last few months, and gosh, I'd love to learn more. I know you've had a long career in optometry, but you've taken some bold moves, shall we say?
I have. I have. What I can say is that I was living my life both personally and professionally
Mm,
in I always stayed in my own lane, if
mm,
you know what I mean.
yes.
I just, I didn't worry if there were other cars passing by, speeding by. I didn't care if there were other cars that were a little bit more, slower than mine. I just stayed in my own lane
Mm,
and did what I felt like was the most comfortable in terms of matching my own personal, um, beliefs and things like that. And so that's how I also raised my daughters. And the way I treated my patients, I, I saw them like family. And so they were kind of like my coping mechanism, and I didn't realize that. And
mm,
so I would show up for my patients, I would show up for my daughters, and I didn't really realize that I wasn't showing up for myself.
mm,
And I think that's what happened was I've been married twice, divorced
mm,
twice,
mhm,
and I think both of those times I didn't understand my own worth, and
mm,
I wasn't showing up for myself. And so that's how life went,
yeah,
and but like I said, after COVID, these last 5 years, going on to 6 years, just a lot of changes at my practice, a lot
mhm,
of turnaround with staffing,
mm,
and it's hard to separate work from personal life when it comes to changes like COVID, and that's when things really start to become meshed, if
mm,
I'm going to use that word. And I think 2.5 years ago, I really started buckling down in terms of like knowing what my purpose is in life. And that's what I alluded to earlier, was that I realized it's been my patient base the entire time,
Mm,
that they were feeding me and fueling me privately, and now I'm willing to go outside of my lane. That's so the last 5 months,
mm,
something has transformed. And like we met on LinkedIn,
mhm,
and I'm going to tell you this. I wasn't going to, say it publicly, because it's more of a quiet achievement, I guess,
mm.
because I was never on social media prior to this year. But as of yesterday, I hit over 5,000 followers. It-
Wow.
I know, and I only had a few hundred going into the beginning of August,
Mm,
and then I posted a very private poem that I wrote to my
mm,
therapist around the time of my birthday, which was August 8th. And that poem changed everything. I mean,
mm,
not just changed everything in terms of like followings or followers, but changed everything in terms of my identity. I
mm,
realized that by being vulnerable on a platform like LinkedIn, it really took courage to show, you know, my journey,
mm.
and I guess it has resonated with people. And so in the month of August, I think I went up to like about 2,000 followers, and then from that point till now, I've hit over 5,000. So
Yeah.
it's a quiet milestone, but that wasn't my goal ever.
Mm,
It's just that these are things that I'm realizing that um, it's resonating with people.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's a powerful step to take. Congrats for expanding your reach, but maybe more than that, helping other people connect
Mhm.
with themselves and, into something deeper, which I
Mhm.
think that's probably what it sounds like that's what really happened.
Absolutely. I know that a lot of times when people comment,
Mm,
on my post, we all see that, right? We all see those posts.
yeah.
But I am telling you that there are so many other people that privately message me,
Mm,
sharing with me their
mhm,
own personal stories. And that's the part where I just feel so blessed and so thankful and so grateful that my I call them random posts,
mhm,
because there is no rhythm. But even though some people might think there's a rhythm to my posting, but I post completely based on my emotions that morning.
mm,
Whatever comes into my head and tugs at my heart, you'll see me post. And
mhm,
I don't follow any algorithm, because I know that, people say, oh, you shouldn't post more than one time a day. You should only do it maybe 3 times a day. And
mm.
then they say certain hours. Well, if you notice, I don't really follow any of that. And I guess in a way I'm going back into my own lane. I'm just doing my own thing. But I think
Mm,
it's those private messages that are really making me feel like
mm,
it's worth it. Everything that I'm doing, it's
mm.
having an impact.
If you what were some of the themes that you heard from, so I saw the post, or at least I think I saw someone had reposted it. Our good friend Mandy Kanzler, I think, had maybe reposted it, and I read it, and you were extremely vulnerable, and so I'm curious what were kind of some of the themes that you were hearing from people that were reaching out to you? What were they saying in response to that?
Mm. Okay, so you're referring to that poem that I
Yeah, the
posted.
poem, the
Yeah.
poem, yeah.
Yeah. So for those who are listening right now and may not really know which poem we're talking about, it was during the week of my birthday
Mm,
around August, and I posted a poem that I wrote to my therapist, who was diagnosed with metastatic cancer. And
mm,
at that time, when I wrote the poem, she had stopped therapy with me. So I was just in contact with her via text messages.
Mm,
And so my way of thanking her was writing this poem. And I texted to her and she didn't respond. And a
mm,
few days later, I found out that she had passed.
mm,
And so I held on to that poem for a couple of years, and then I decided to post it on LinkedIn. And
mm,
so in that poem, I basically made statements about all the trials I have gone through in my life and how each trial I came out as a survivor.
mm,
But I ended that poem by saying that although I know that I am a survivor, I'm very proud that I'm a survivor, but I also feel like I'm a conqueror. And that's how I ended the poem.
mm,
And so privately, other people have reached out to me, um, telling me how much courage that they saw in me, and that was helping them find a way to do the same.
mm,
And what Mandy did, Mandy Kanzler did, was she took my poem and she put her own story, her
mm,
own words, what she survived through, and presented it. And so when I saw that, I knew I had to reach out to her.
mhm,
And so our my poem has really become a unifier for
mm,
me and Mandy, but for all those people that have messaged me. Um, I touched upon things that about, divorce, and I also touched upon childhood abuse. I touched upon domestic violence, just a lot of different things, and depression, and those were all the things that were in my poem.
mhm,
And like I said, the people who have reached out to me, they're like us. I mean, we're no different. We are working professionals, and I think what really resonated with people is that, I am, how should I say it? I'm modeling for people that just because we are working professionals, that we don't have to keep these masks on all the
mm,
time. And that if your true self comes out, that's a beautiful thing. And that in itself becomes, makes you into even a better leader in every, facet of your life, whether it's professional or personal.
mm,
And I think it's because when we're always trying to have these different masks on our faces, it gets tiring. It gets tiring. And I think for right now, I'm living my best authentic life because I'm not tired anymore. I feel free. And I
mm.
Yeah, and I think that's what's resonating with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you talked about, getting out of your lane a little bit. And so I kind of want to hear you talk about what does that mean for you, getting out of your lane, and where's that lane headed, maybe?
Yeah. So I think that lane that I was referring to, staying in my own lane, that was my comfort zone.
Mm,
That's how I'm going to define it.
mhm,
I didn't want to take risks. I felt comfortable with whatever I was doing because of fears, you
yeah.
know, and fear of change, which is very common with human nature, right? That's why we
Mhm,
form habits. And but when we start looking at these habits that we develop, a lot of times it comes from this anxiety or fear of change, right? Because it's going to make us feel uncomfortable. So this last 2.5 years, and more so 2025, I decided, what the heck? I'm just gonna go for it. And so I started just doing the things that I wanted to do.
mhm,
So remember earlier I talked about um, these thoughts or things that like pulled at my heart. my
Sure.
heartstrings.
Mm,
That's what I'm talking about. So 2025, I made a commitment to myself that any thought that came into my head,
mm,
or my heart felt like it was being tugged, there was no more reason for me to even think about it, like as if maybe I shouldn't do it. I
mm.
already knew I need to do it. And
Wow.
so, yeah. And so that's, so when you ask me what is getting out of this lane leading to, I went ahead and wrote two children's books.
Mhm,
Yeah. And I found a wonderful publisher through another author who had invited me to write a chapter in her book. That was around January when I got that invitation.
mm,
And her book, which I contributed to, was launched in June.
mm,
So in June to August is when I started really brainstorming with the publisher because I got a
mm,
connection, right?
mm.
And I basically told the publisher that I wanted to write children's books. And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, man wants to chime in and say, "This is great." So, thank you, Mandy, for your comment, and you know, I agree, and I kinda wanted to delve deeper here because you're talking about a mindset where if you feel pulled, in a direction, then your heart is calling you to do that. And you're saying yes. You're saying yes to the universe, and you're saying yes to yourself. Um, if someone's out there listening and they're thinking, "Man, I want to get some of that juice," that Katie's got.
Yeah.
What does it take to connect with that drive that inspired you? I mean, do you have to go through some serious pain to get there, or I don't know, what tips do you have for those of us out there?
So, I mean, I feel like some of the words that I'm going to use sounds like people have already heard these words or have seen them in other people's posts. But the reason why I'm using these words is because these are the things that I have implemented in
Mm,
my own life. And it's alignment,
mm,
clarity, and finding purpose in your life.
mm,
And so, when you hear me say something like, one true vision, one true voice, one true you,
mm,
that is what I'm talking about. Because, you know, vision is having clarity. Okay.
mm,
And so once you understand what your purpose is, right?
mm,
It That gives you clarity in your life. And so I'm going to tell you, my soul searching these last 2.5 years, I realized that my purpose is serving.
mm,
And serving are my patients. I serve my patients day in, day out,
mm,
day in, day out. And, and I could be posting every day about all the blessings I have that I share with my patients every day. That can fill my posts every day. But I decided not to. I decided to do something different.
mhm. Uh-oh, Katie, we lost your feed here. So Dr. Chu here was on a roll, and it seemed like we lost the connection. Um, but fear not, we're going to try to get her back, so that we can continue on this discussion, because I'm fascinated, and as a person who is super passionate about helping other people, find their drive at work. Katie's story, Dr. Chu's story, is really powerful. So, hoping to get her back here on. We do have a comment from Serena. Oh, here comes Dr. Chu.
Okay. Well, you know
Hey.
what? Hi. Well, you know what? I'm going to give some background to the people who are viewing. I am going to let you know I am actually on my cell phone right now. We were having technical difficulties prior to being live. We could not get my video to be, or my camera working off of my laptop. So what happened was we just lost the feed because somebody was calling in on my phone.
Oh, no. No calls, please.
No calls, please. So obviously, whoever was calling was not watching this live feed.
Yes. Mm.
So, well, so what I was saying was, the getting the clarity is understanding what your purpose is, and then when I talk about one true voice, that's the part where once you understand what your purpose is, then you got to put it in action.
Mm.
Right? Your voice is what is going to resonate, right? You got to
Mm.
put that voice out there. And so that's the part where it's action. And so the way I've been doing it now in terms of living out my purpose, like I said, serving my patients, right? But how am I doing it even more so? I'm doing it more so in a very grand scale. I mean, I like I said, I've been practicing for 30 years. I could be easily slowly retreating back and planning out my exit plan and all that. But I've been doubling down in terms of reinvesting into my practice. I
Mm.
remodeled my practice. It's a beautiful boutique looking practice, and
Yeah.
my patients love the environment. And and then this past year, I bought new technology to put into my practice, and I think Mandy Cancer might be watching. I am going to give her a shout out. So I will be posting later on today. I was gonna just make it into a special announcement, but I did bring in Mandy Kanzler's company into helping my practice be stronger and better, and to be able to serve my community even more so. Um, and so yeah, so I've hired her to be my consultant,
Mm.
and she's actually, I think, flying in. She might be watching us on the airplane right now. So she's flying in from North Carolina
Okay.
over to LA,
Yeah.
and she's going to be spending a few days here to help me with my practice.
Mm.
And then next week we're going to go full force into more workshops, and but yeah, this is all for me to put into action.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, what I realize is that once you have that alignment and that clarity, and you're voicing out or making it into actionable um experiences, or um you you end up being so much more fulfilled. And that's where I call it the one true you, because the one true you is when you realize that your authentic self is when you remove all those masks, you
Mm.
find out what your true purpose is, you put it in action, and you're going to end up living your best life. And that's
Mhm.
how I feel right now. It's like every day, um, I am living my best life.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any secret to what I'm doing,
Mm.
but that's how I've been doing it. And I'm hoping that, as my voice becomes louder
Mm.
on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
uh, and what I mean by louder is through my posts, I'm showing um, all sides of me. I don't want it to be where it's only industry related. And
Yeah.
that's what I meant by earlier, where I could be posting every day about my clinical
Sure.
outcomes, right? My patient outcomes and
Mm.
all that. I could be doing that. But I decided that, I want people to understand that it's okay to share every aspect about you, because we
Mhm.
need to be able to be whole.
I think that we all become more compelling when we are more real, and when
Mhm.
when we disclose, our motives, when we disclose our challenges and we show humility, that we're not perfect,
Mhm.
that makes you more compelling, right? As a person, as a professional, as a provider, I think. I can imagine. I'm curious. Have you had any of your patients that have seen any of your content and have and commented about it?
So I'm very low key. I'm very low key. So there's nothing in my practice that
Yeah.
is letting people know that I have my own podcast.
Right.
That I've written books. I mean, I have books that are on display in my practice,
Mm,
but there's no arrow pointing to it that says, "Oh, this is,"
right.
they're just there. And
Yeah.
if anyone happens to ask, "Oh, are these written by
Mm,
Dr. Chu?"
right.
Then my staff goes, "Oh yes." And so, but no, I recently I did have a patient that brought
Mm,
up something about me going to Hawaii, and that if I was already in Hawaii,
okay.
and I said, "Oh, so how did you know?"
Mm.
And then so she said she saw me on a TikTok video.
That's awesome. We have a comment from Serena Tyndall. She's a certified ophthalmic assistant. Says, "Hi from Florida. Great discussion. I've enjoyed listening to both of your podcasts recently. So having you together is a great combination. Thank you both for being your authentic and vulnerable selves." Thank you, Serena. And that comment and kind of what you were saying is making me curious. So you talked about connecting with your true purpose and your true voice. And I wonder, as you have utilized your voice, as you have found your voice and expressed it through the podcast, books, LinkedIn posts, do you think that that has helped you? Has that created a virtuous cycle where the more you express your voice, the more you connect with yourself, the more you connect with others? Has the using of your voice really been, I don't know, helped you along this journey that you're on?
100%.
Mm,
100%. I think that's why I was mentioning earlier, the ultimate goal is to connect to your one true self,
mm,
meaning that once you understand that it's okay to be authentic, it's okay to let your guard down, let those masks come off, right? Once you realize that it's okay and you give yourself permission, that's where the clarity starts coming in,
mm,
right? Because if you still keep your professional mask because you feel like you have to, because you're in a corporate setting and you can't be a certain way because, you might be judged, a certain way, it's like, then you're still not living your most authentic self, right?
mm,
But once you start giving your permission, um, that's where that inner growth just starts to flourish. And like
mm,
for me, that's why, like in one of my posts, I put down that people, I mean, literally, I've had so many people go, "Dr. Chu," or they'll say, "Katie, you're on fire." I keep hearing that, "You're on fire."
mm,
And yeah, I'm gonna say I am on fire. I am on fire, but it's because once you start this going, it's
yeah,
like you can't stop. You
mm,
can't stop. And it's such a beautiful thing. It's
yeah,
such a beautiful thing. And
mm,
then the main thing is, during this whole process, I'm gonna have to bring this in. You have to exercise gratitude,
mm,
humility. Because you can't not practice gratitude every
mm,
day. Every day I practice gratitude. And in one of my posts, um you know here's the thing, I'm a late bloomer. So a lot of these posts that you see now, they're things that I've already been, I'm going to put in air quotes, post in the previous years. Like, I had name tags made for my staff, and my name tag is Doctor of Gratitude.
mm.
And each of my staff, they wear name tags that say, because at the beginning of the year, I had told all of them, "You guys have all been promoted. You guys are all directors." And then I passed them out. And one tag would say director of laughter, director of
Mm,
serenity, director of happiness, director of laughter, director, and
yeah,
yeah, and so I obviously I based it off of their personalities,
for
and
sure.
then I gifted it to them, and so it's cool. I mean, when patients see my staff wearing these name tags, so yeah, all I'm saying is that they were already in place, and then months later, then I posted it,
Mm,
you
sure.
know, and yeah, I've always been practicing gratitude. My patient base, every patient, I bow to them. I bow. I
Mm,
bow out of respect
yeah.
because I'm in an immigrant community. Most of my patients are coming from different countries in Asia,
Okay.
but everyone, I bow. I bow at the beginning. I
Yeah.
bow at the end. I thank them so much for choosing me.
Mm,
I tell every patient they have choices. They know they have, I know they have choices. They know they have choices.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're sitting in front of me. And so I am so thankful. And I tell them
Mm.
that.
I love that you're going into the gratitude topic here because it is so important. And it's so important as a leader to practice gratitude. And it sounds like you really have taken that to heart. I
Oh,
love that.
yeah. And the beauty is that my staff, are also practicing gratitude. And I don't know, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, which came first.
Mm,
Like, I don't know if it's because I've been modeling it for them or that they were already doing it on their own. It doesn't matter.
mm,
What does matter is that we are all in harmony. Like,
mm,
so I mean, it sounds like the fancy word people use nowadays is, oh, I provide concierge service. Well,
mm,
my practice, I could say that we offer concierge service too, but it's from gratitude. So what
mm,
my staff does, like during after pre-testing, right? Out of natural gratitude, right? We'll tell our patients, we'll show them where the bathroom is, okay? And then we'll tell them, would you like, or we will ask them, would you like a cup of hot tea or water
mm,
while you wait for Dr. Chu?
mm.
It's out of being thankful that
Yeah.
they are there. And
Mm,
so just a gesture of offering something to drink while
yeah.
they're waiting is a very simple act, but
Sure.
it goes a long ways. Patients are very, very grateful that
Yeah.
we offer them. Hmm.
Um, I'm wondering, as you have been on this journey of finding your true self and your true purpose and your voice, which is exuding passion and excitement. Have you noticed your leadership in the office changing, shifting, in any manner? Or are you just now being more vocal and you're kind of taking it into the public now?
The latter, because
Oh, okay.
because like I said, for the last 30 years, when I say
Mm,
I'm staying in my own lane, I
yeah.
was already doing all this. I was
Mm,
already doing all this, but just
yeah.
very privately, right?
Mm,
And then now I've realized that what I have been doing, um, it needs to be shared. It
mm,
needs to be shared, and yeah, I think that's part of my purpose is that as I'm serving my patients, I need to model that for others because
mm,
it's very simple, but I think sometimes when we're in healthcare and practicing as long as I have, um, we burn out. We
mm,
burn out very easily. And how do we re um, how do we find a reset, right?
mm,
And sometimes people, they end up burning out and never resetting. So then when later in their life, and when people ask them about, oh, so what were you doing, before you retired, and they'll kind of grumble and say, oh yeah, I was just an optometrist. What do you mean by just an
mm,
optometrist? Right? What do you mean by just an optometrist?
mm,
Because we're, in one of the best professions that I can ever imagine, because we are every day changing somebody's life by helping them to see better and live better.
Mm,
I mean, we cannot take for granted that a pair of glasses, a pair of contacts, surgery to remove cataracts, LASIK, retinal detachment surgeries. Every single one of those things that we are doing in our industry, we are helping people live better lives.
mm.
And I think people forget that. They forget that. So we're
And
not just an eye doctor. No,
yeah,
we're more than that.
yeah, connecting with that purpose of your work is so important. I'm wondering for people that are listening that are saying, "Man, Dr. Chu is so fired up. She's on fire." I'm sure even though you were kind of doing these things before, um, as you found your voice, you've probably learned some things along the way. And is there any wisdom or advice that you would give to someone who is thinking, "Gosh, I kind of want to find my voice, or I kind of want to dabble with getting out there, or I'm not sure what my purpose is." Are there things that you've learned as you've really pushed yourself out of your lane that you would want to share with other folks who are kind of thinking about getting the same Dr. Chu energy that you're rocking right now?
um, let's see. I think for me, I'm gonna just speak for myself.
Yeah.
I think part of me finding this clarity was to become more faith based,
Mm,
and so that's where I would lean on my faith
mhm.
to gain that strength, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
because sometimes we feel alone in a lot of these hard decision making. And I know that I have spoken on my own podcast in regards to my clearest moments are my God moments, and they're
Mm,
in the morning between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. And it is very clear that those are the times where anything that tugs at my heart, I run with it.
mm,
I go with it because I believe that that is a message that God is giving me.
yeah.
And but I don't always bring up my faith or religion.
Mm,
And so how I practice it is that when I have a business decision to make,
mm.
I will always tell those people that are asking me to make a decision, I'll be like, you know what? Can we wait until tomorrow? And I'll give you an answer. It's because I need that morning.
Good.
I'm
Right.
having I'm having a meeting with God.
Yeah. Well, I heard that, and this applies to people whether you're a person of faith or not. I heard someone put it in a very similar way, which is you have good ideas, which may sound technically good, and then you have God ideas. And what they meant by that was, again, whether you're a person of faith or not, you have a moment of inspiration and clarity. And it sounds like for you, that's in the morning. And, for me, it's probably when I'm on a run or maybe I'm in the shower or something like that. But like you have clarity. And sounds like what you're saying is when you have that clarity, and then that's a God idea. And it's even better than a good sounding idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna reframe things here for our followers, just so they understand my journey.
Yeah.
I wasn't using God's name
Mm,
until about 2.5 years ago. So, how was I explaining things that were going well in my life? And at that time, I would be saying that it was the universe
mm,
aligning itself.
mhm,
That's how I was always explaining things. When things were going well, I would be saying that the universe was aligning. And it's just that now I'm calling that energy, that positive energy, as being God. But
Mhm,
prior to that, I always believed that positive energy attracts positive energy. And I
mhm.
think one of the it was a movie. Oh my goodness, what is it called? It was talking um, about manifesting
Is it The
things.
Secret?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
The Secret. That was life changing for me. I
Mm,
watched it maybe 3 years ago,
mhm,
and that was life changing for me to watch The Secret.
mm.
Yeah, because oh, sorry, not to cut you off.
No,
Um,
go ahead.
well, well, the takeaway from The Secret, what the takeaway for me was that, and I have been implementing it, is you don't have to know how to get there.
Mm,
You just have to be able to trust the process, because that's what The Secret is about. That they remember they had all these people that were like high achievers and people who were huge successes in life, but when they got interviewed, they all admitted that they didn't know the process.
mm,
They knew what they wanted, but you had to just believe in it,
mm,
and and how should I say it, work towards it, but you don't have to know what the next
mhm,
step is in order for you to even start the process. And I truly do believe that, because if every decision that I've had to make these last 2.5 years, I had to know every single step before I even take the first step, that would have paralyzed me. I
yeah.
would have not started anything.
Mm,
And so now I just let it all go. I tell myself, oh, this is what I want to do. And I don't even bother or worry about how I'm going to get there. I just know it will happen.
mm. You know, that's the story of so many things that I've done. And honestly, they don't always work out, but you end up in the place that you're meant to be, and you end up in a place that's better than maybe what you thought at one time. Is that you? Do you believe that that's true?
Oh, 100%. So when I say that, you just have to trust the process.
Mm,
The process will eventually lead you to what you want, but it may
mm,
not be during the time that you're expecting it to be. And so during that period, as you're waiting for that outcome to come, you might come across outcomes that are not favorable, but they're each of them, you learn, you take away lessons, right?
mm,
And then and those lessons learned apply to the process that's going to take you to the outcome that you want. And so yeah, people always say that I have such a positive outlook, but it's not easy.
mm,
It's You have to practice. You have to
mm.
practice being positive.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work. Um, but I think as long as you know that nothing is ever done to you, things in this universe, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. If it's the energy, the universe, God, anything, it's not done to you, it's done for you.
yeah.
So once you understand, you replace done with for, then
Mm,
you see things so differently, because yeah, that challenge was done for me. I mean, it was done for a purpose.
yeah.
And then you have to walk away positive.
You know, one of the things that has gotten me through some very challenging times over this past year is affirmations, and just reminding myself that there's something better coming. In fact, I still have it, a little reminder on my phone that pops up every week that says, "Good things are happening in the background if you're patient." And I think having little reminders is super helpful. And it sounds like for you, gratitude and realizing that, you have the power to make moves in the direction of your goal. You wrote a book, Chewy's Bold Moves, I think.
Yeah,
Is that in the same vein of making moves towards your goals?
it is.
Yeah.
It is. Chewy is me. If you look at the little T-Rex, I mean, round face, big eyes, and I'm wearing contacts right now, but
Mm,
my family, they know me. with glasses on when I'm at home. And but no, Chewy is me. And yeah, I'm going to tell you why I wrote children's books. I decided to write children's books to get my
Mm,
message out to
yeah.
them. Is I purposely picked the age group of age 4 to age 6 or 8 years old. Okay, that's
Mm,
my age group, and
mm,
it's because you're going to end up having not only the children take away lessons from the story, but so will the adults, the ones that are reading
they
the
are. Wow.
story to the
That,
kids,
that's a
right?
bomb right there. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and the stories behind you know, so so that people understand why I'm releasing these books as quick as I am. There is a reason too. I don't take for granted that I am living and healthy right now, but I have no idea what's going to happen the next day, and I am a cancer survivor.
Mm,
So with that being said, that is why I am producing a book every 2 to 3 months right now. That is my goal. And
mm,
it's because I can't be letting time go by and not have my project be completed. I want my project to be completed, and that is that I am going to have one book per character, which is going to be a total of six in the series, and
mm,
because there's six dinos, and but they each will serve a purpose of
mm,
the messaging. And because I am a survivor of child abuse, I cannot remember anything past 4 years of age.
mm,
And that's another reason why my storybooks are for that age group,
mm,
is because if I can shed some happiness into that household
mm.
and teach kids to be bold and courageous and teach parents about kindness and love, um, that's my purpose.
I mean, that's
So
amazing.
yeah,
I'm gonna try to put up. I'm gonna try to put up a picture here of that book. There it is, right there. Chewy's bold move on the video.
yeah,
If you're watching on video, you'll see, and I just dropped that into the video. It's huge right now.
it's
But man,
okay. But
Chewy
yeah,
is so cute. And yeah, there's the six dinos there.
yeah, yeah. And and here's the thing. They're called the Chew Crew. Um,
Okay.
and I named them the Chew Crew without realizing that my staff, they have their own private text group, and they've been calling themselves the Chew Crew.
Oh wow. And
So
you
when I
named them
told them,
that.
yeah, it just comes full circle. It comes full circle.
Yeah.
And I am so blessed that the I didn't again, I had no idea. So this publishing company that is helping me with the children's book, they are a media company.
Mm,
And so they also produce songs. And this is how my world is so blessed. I am so thankful to Vince Warnock. He's my publisher, and he created songs to go with my books.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so each book has 5 songs, and they're on Spotify or
Oh,
yeah, yeah, and they're amazing. They're amazing.
that
Yeah.
that's a whole new angle I would not have thought. I would not have thought. So you're a media mogul, is what it sounds like. So, to kind of
You're too kind.
I'm trying to share the message of Dr. Katie Chu here. So we've touched on so many awesome things, and we've talked about stepping forward, making that next move. And you've talked about more books, more children's books coming. You've got a podcast. What other bold moves can we expect from Dr. Chu here in the near future? Or is it top
So
secret?
no, okay. So when you get to know me, I mean even more so. Um, there is no top secret in
Mm,
my life. I mean, um, but I am going to say this. I have no idea.
Mm,
That's how my life has been.
yeah.
2025, I was on fire, okay?
Hmm.
But nothing was planned. It was all organic. It just
Yeah.
things things came up, like, the podcast. I'm going to be very honest with you. I was sitting at a lunch meeting with one of my frames rep, and he had seen me on stage because I was doing a keynote speaking thing for Luxottica, and I was having lunch with him, and then he goes, "Dr. Chu, you know, you should really have your own podcast." And I'm like, "Oh, well, do you want to do one with me?" I mean, that's how we started.
Mm,
But at the end of the day, the way it evolved was a lot of the people who initially suggested that I should do a podcast. I invited them to be a co-host with me, right? Because I knew I didn't want to do it alone.
mm,
And but each of them, for whatever reason, and sometimes I think it's because they're working for a company, and sometimes they're not too sure if it's
mm,
okay. Would it be corporate approved for them to have this, side thing happening? And so I thought to myself, well, gee, how am I going to make this work? Because I don't want to be solo.
mhm.
And so that's where it organically started working out, to where I got to have my guests be in the same room with me. And so that's where it is, where it's in person now.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Dr. Chu, thank you so much. I personally feel energized. I usually cut these shows off around 30 minutes, but I wanted to continue the conversation because I sensed that you were getting more excited as time went by. And I thought the information, I found everything that you've shared to be really inspiring.
Mm.
And I think for people to make moves in their lives, listen to their inner voice and just explore that. It is a message that needs to be heard. So thank you.
No, thank you. I really do appreciate everything that happens in my life, and for you to
Yeah,
extend this invitation. Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
How is what's the best way for people to learn more about you and your growing voice?
Um, so my main platform right now is LinkedIn.
Okay.
So they can just look for under my name. I think it's Katie W. Chu.
Hmm.
There's other Katie Chus out there, so just make sure that you do see me.
Okay.
And then also my website, which is chewonwhatmatters.com.
Okay.
That website has everything. Yeah, it has the podcasts and the books and the songs.
The songs. Check out the songs, everybody. I'm going to go do that right now. I'm going to put those links to your LinkedIn and Chew on What Matters onto the show notes for the show. But thank you so much for joining me, Dr.
Thank
Chew.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks everyone who listened, who comment, or who's going to be listening here to the recorded version of the show. Means a lot to me to be able to share the knowledge and the wisdom and the passion with you all, from the people here that I have on the show. So thanks for listening. Please subscribe and all that good stuff. But yeah, thanks again, and we're going to go ahead and sign off of our live. And Dr. Chu, you can stay on, and we can catch up a little bit for
Sounds
a
good.
minute or two. Thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.